Yo, what's up? Welcome to the Dissection, a Numbers with Jacari series where we're dissecting the numerology behind some of your favorite musicians and public figures. I'm your host, Jacari, conglomerated numerologist and astrologer, but by all means call me Ace. And in this debut episode, we're dissecting the numbers behind J.Cole, looking into the releases of his 6 studio albums to see how the numbers helped or hurt the success of each project, as well as some of my recommendations. So if you're liking what you're hearing, share it on your socials and tag me at YourSoulLab on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and head over to my website yoursoulaboratory.com to check out the blog post that highlights the numbers that I'm talking about, math and terminology, and the numbers and letter charts, and my final thoughts. It's like an educational showing of my work, if you will. That will be out on Sunday. But also check out my booking. Books are open right now, but all direct links are in the description of this episode. But let's go ahead and get into this. So J. Cole, I love his numbers. First off, he was born January 28th, 1985. That was a Monday. He is a psychic exalted number 1, which is simplified from a 28, a destiny 7, simplified from a 34, and a popular name number 1, simplified from a 19, because we're not going based off of Jermaine. We're going based off of J. Cole, because that's what everybody knows him by, which is what makes a popular name. So, I love his numbers. I really love his numbers. That exalted 1 puts him in the spotlight and puts him in a position where taking up space and embodying themes of brilliance and greatness are natural to him, but it also highlights the fact that it's not something that he might have seen in himself first. It was something that other people saw, and then he got to where he is today, where he's like, yeah, I am that shit. Like, I am that nigga. You can't play with me. And having that vibe about his numbers already gives me a lot of just a very much a smiley type vibe, because 1 is ruled by the sun, so it's the natural illuminator, and having 1 twice in his numerology as a psychic and name number just emphasizes the fact that he's meant to take up space. And 6 albums? Oh yes, you're taking up all of the space. Please do it again. But based off his numbers, I can definitely tell that he's introverted and likes his solitude, because even with having the sun energy so dominant in his numbers, the ironic thing about the psychological level of 1s is, yes, they are prone to taking up space and being very bright and attract a lot of things to them, but that does not necessarily mean that they want everybody in their business. So you can tell by how much he is not on social media and how much he is not talking to people that he very much likes his solitude and his personal space. And I feel like that tracks in even his personal life. But the thing that he cannot run away from is the spotlight, just because it's in his numerology so heavily. And that can bring a lot of frustration, but learning to accept that and paying attention to his spiritual and mental needs, mental health wise, especially, that can help the process overall. But he's definitely a perfectionist with that 1 energy running heavily, and also with that supplementary 3 energy from that destiny number and that 34, and the supplementary 9 energy, and also just the 1 energy in general, but supplementary 9 energy in his name number as well. Those highlight perfectionism. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of projects that might have been either delayed or never came out because they never got to that perfect level that he was always trying to get to. And his mind is very, very chaotic, and is just maybe not chaotic. Chaotic might be the word, but it's always moving, needless to say. His mind is always on go. And since he is currently over 30 years old, his destiny number has been quote unquote activated, and now he's experiencing a lot more 7 themes more dominantly. So though he's a psychic number 1 or exalted psychic number 1, his destiny number 7 is now more in the front seat. So that 7 and that simplification from 34 is taking more of a front seat. So 7, 3, and 4 are ruling a lot more of his life right now. So being names around those 7 themes, so spiritual and mental health, spiritual hygiene, spiritual freedom and warfare, past things, childhood trauma, or just childhood things in general, and just the overall complexities of life are very potent right now for him. And also escapism is something that might play a role too, but those are all 7 themes. So I wonder how he's handling them right now. He's also in a personal 9 year right now, and it's a universal 7 year. So I'm hoping to see if he does something because also being in this personal 9 year, there's going to be a lot of endings and a lot of completion, but also a lot of passion, a lot of drive, a lot of courage in some spaces, and also a little bit of recklessness and impulsivity. So we'll see what shakes for him this year. I'm excited to see if he does anything in the industry, or if he's just gonna chill out and not really show his face for real like he usually do. But his best numbers based off his numerology are 1, 3, 7, and 9. And the reason why these numbers are good is because 1, being ruled by the sun, is his natal number energy, and 3 is a supplementary number. 3 is ruled by Jupiter, but also it reflects 7, which is his destiny number. So 3 and 7 work really well together because they reflect each other, and 1 and 9 also reflect each other really well because they reflect each other. So 7 is ruled by Neptune and the South Node. So Neptune and South Node themes are also prominent in his numerology, and also would be prominent in his music as well. So themes of drug use and obsession, addiction, communal themes, past themes like childhood experiences or just overall life experience tie into that 7 very heavily. And then 9, being ruled by Mars, highlights that passion, but also a level of spiritual healing and cleansing. So I feel like if he has these numbers in his projects, even if it's all 4 of those numbers or all 3 of the numbers, whatever it is, or not even all 3, but 3 of those 4 numbers, I feel like he's good, and I'm hoping to see these numbers throughout the projects because those are definitely the numbers that highlight the most natural success for him. But best days based off his first wow, slow down, babe. Best days based off his personal numbers are 1, 7, 9, 12, 19, 27, and 28. So any of those days could be good for him, or rather those are the best days that are for him, and then the good days are the 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 8th, 17th, 18th, 20th, 25th, 26th, and 29th. And the pattern that you'll probably recognize is that all of those numbers have or either equal a 1, a 2, a 3, a 5, a 7, or 8 or 9, because those are numbers that could work well with his numerology. But the main ones being 1, 7, and 9 that would work the best with his numerology. And then his best days of the week are Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Saturdays. Sundays because he's ruled by the sun, and Sundays ruled by the sun. And because of that sun is in his psychic and name number, so it's very potent for him. It's very natural for him. It's very comfortable. And then Monday because he's born on a Monday, and there's a conversation around like the compatibility between the sun and the moon, but it's lunar and solar energy. But that's a conversation for another day because we ain't going into that right now. But I would say Tuesday because Tuesday is ruled by Mars, and Mars rules the number 9, and 9 reflects the number 1. So that works well together as well. And then Saturday, because it would add a little bit more foundational things to his psychic number, because that psychic number is simplified from a 28, and 8 is ruled by Saturn. So Saturday would do fairly decent for him in regards to the longevity of things. And it would give more of the stability that Sun and Neptune / South Node energy has. So I'm hoping to see all of these numbers, or at least some of these numbers, throughout his projects, because those are the ones that I'm liking a lot. So let's go ahead and get into these albums. So starting with album number 1, Cole World, The Sideline Story. This is a classic. This is the first one out, first studio album. It was released September 27th, 2011, which was a Tuesday, given an exalted psychic number 9, simplified from a 27, a destiny number 4, simplified from a 22, and a name number 8, simplified from a 98/17, because math. So looking at these numbers, I can definitely tell that this was a passion project. This was one that he was like, look, I'm here, I'm in this bitch, y'all gonna fuck with me if you wanna fuck with me, if you don't fuck with me, I don't give a fuck, I'm about this shit. Like he was in his bag. And definitely was trying his best to embrace himself. But I feel like he definitely had a vision based off of the 9 and 4 of this project, but I also wonder how clearly that vision was understood publicly. Like, I feel like he had a vision or a perception of this project. I just wonder if that translated in regards to the public's perception and view of this project, because the combination of 9 and 4, though it highlights that passion, it also brings a level of reckless and impulsive energy that could be good if it's properly regulated, but I don't feel like that 8 is doing it justice, if we're being honest. So 9 is ruled by Mars, like we already know, and 4 is ruled by Uranus and the North Node. So those energies together can be very erratic and very chaotic and very just all over the place if they're not supported very well. So what I would have done to help regulate this energy, I would have thrown a 7 in there, just because 7 and 4 work well together and 9 and 7 work well together, because I would have given it more of a true to himself nature that I would have liked as well. Because the thing is, 8 is trying to bring order and trying to control that 4 and 9 energy, because 8 is ruled by Saturn. So it's not really supporting him. It's trying to be like, sit down. And we don't really want that. If the energy is not a sit down energy, okay, let's just work with that chaotic, a little bit just more reckless or free energy, instead of trying to rein it in, because I feel like we don't really need to rein it in with this project. And also, if you're looking at the supplementary numbers, specifically between the psychic and name number, 28 and 98, we have what we call a compatibility cross. So if you were to stack 27 and 98 on top of each other, you would have the compatibility between 2 and 8 is great. So taking that 2 from 27 and the 8 from 98, those numbers work well together. And that 7 and that 9 also work well together. But it's a cross. It makes a cross if you were to draw lines to those numbers. Whereas if you're looking at supplementary numbers, you want them to go straight up and down, just because it just adds sort of like a block in the energy. So I would have liked to see something a little bit different in regards to that, to help regulate that in a better way. Because if we're keeping that name number 8, because that name number 8 does give it that notoriety and that long-standing remembrance of it, so it's not a bad number to have. But I would have gone for a Psychic 4 and a Destiny 2. Preferably, I would have liked to change the name number just based off of the overall vibe of the project. But if I couldn't, that Psychic 4 would embrace that, yo, I'm here, listen up, what's good? And if that 4 is already there, but it's just in a different spot, and it would be very well placed with in regards to the rest of his other natal numerology. Because it's naturally disruptive, and when you're doing a fresh project, that's naturally disruptive. And that Destiny 2 would have helped bring people together and magnetize the energy of 4 and 8, and 2 is ruled by the moon, so you have also that luminary energy as well. So I would have really liked that. But in a perfect world, I would have gone for a 1, 3, and 7 for his first release, because 1, to embrace that introductory and new to the scene energy, 3, to expand upon his natural energy and boost on the social side, because 3 is ruled by Jupiter, so it's a very social energy, and it takes the energy that's there and expands upon it and just makes it bigger than ever. So if the energy that's there is already good, it's going to just get gooder, basically. And then 7, to highlight that destiny number and support his natural talents, and to solidify his place in the industry just based off of his destiny number. So I would have liked to see that, but it's not a bad release at all. I would say, let's give it a rating per se. A rating 1 through 10. I would rate this a 6.5. This is a 6.5. I'm gonna rate it as a 6.5. Okay, moving on to Born Sinner. This is the second album. This was released on a Tuesday, June 18th, 2013. I like the day of the week, and I also like this numerology a lot. The only thing, let me go ahead and get through it first before I critique. But the psychic number, it's a psychic number 9 simplified from that 18, a destiny 3 simplified from a 21, and a name number 37, or name number 1 simplified from a 37/10. So I like these numbers. And if I'm being picky, that's the only reason why I would change, because there's another supplementary cross because of that 18 to 21. If you stack them on top of each other, again, same thing. It's like there's that crossing of energy that's not really compatible. 18 and 37, those, again, if you're just sitting them on top of each other, the 4 numbers in and of themselves, 1 and 7 can go together, but 3 and 8 is kind of up in the air for me. But 37 in and of itself is a great number because those 2 numbers reflect each other, so there's a compatibility there. So I'm not mad at it. So I wouldn't, honestly, for the second album, I wouldn't change anything directly in regards to the psychic destiny or name number, because I like those numbers. If I was going to change literally anything, I would just switch the numbers, if I could, again, in a perfect world, I would switch the destiny number to a destiny number 1 and the name number to a name number 3. An exalted 3 if I could, because that puts it in a position where people will talk about it with that expansive energy of that 3. So I would have put that 3 there, and that destiny 1 would have put in a position where it highlights that new, changing, original type vibe that allows this project to stand alone from other projects. But that still does happen, but just in a reverse way. So the name number 1, for Born Sinner, puts it in a position where it's known and it's talked about, but it's talked about for the new, fresh styles that it's talked about. And it's the destiny number long standing. It's just like, oh yeah, people like it. But if we switch those numbers, you get more of a potency and more of a direct hit to, yes, this is that type of project. But I'm not mad at it. If we were to rate this, I would say, I want to give it an 8 out of 10. I think I'm going to stick with that. We're going to go with an 8 out of 10. So moving on to Forest Hill Drive. Now, 2014 Forest Hill Drive. Listen. I love these numbers. It was released December 28th, not 28th, Jesus. That's my birthday. LOL. December 9th, 2014. And that was on a Tuesday, giving it a pure psychic 9, a destiny 1 simplified from a 19, and an exalted 3 simplified from a 66/12. And listen, I feel like everything I just said about Born Sinner just copy and paste over, because this project does so good, because all of these numbers work well with his numbers. If we look at his psychic number, exalted number 1, in comparison to this project's pure number 9, beautiful reflection. If we look at his destiny number 7 simplified from a 34, next to this or under this destiny number 1 simplified from a 19, beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. And then the name exalted 3 simplified from that 66/12 with his name number 1 simplified from a 19. Also, if you peeped, this project has a destiny number that is the same as his name number, which is perfect to do in these types of situations, because you're taking the natal energy of the native and putting it into a project to highlight a sense of rebirth, of a sense of giving of self, that it will have this project forever heavily tethered to him, whether he wants it to be or not. So it's dependent on how diehard you are about your career, because I would not recommend this for everybody. But for him, this worked out perfectly, because this album, I want to say, broke some records, if I'm not mistaken, and also definitely won some awards. But this numerology is perfect. I would not change anything about this, because also this project was released in a universal 7 year and in a personal 9 year, and those numbers are working together in him to work. Wow, please slow down. I just got so excited. Those numbers are working together for him in his favor, and this is the best release by far. And that pure psychic 9 is helping to regulate that exalted 3, and that destiny 1 is giving that new vibe that's unique to itself and supportive of his originality, and also the project's originality without taking away from anything. It's just a beautiful project. There was also no features on this project. And also the 139, and it's being his 3rd album. I love it. Because one of the biggest things you want to do with numerology is look for the patterns, look for the synchronicities, and looking at where things just naturally fall into place and look good together. And this looks fucking great. But let me keep moving, because we will sit and talk about this one project all damn day. But his 4th album was For Your Eyes Only. This project was released exactly 2 years later after Forest Hill Drive. So it was released on December 9th, 2016, which was a Friday, giving it a pure psychic 9 and giving it a destiny 3 simplified from a 21, and a name number 2 simplified from a 65/11. Now, you would think that, 2 years later, same sauce, just a different year. But this changes the universal year, and also therefore his personal year. So the compatibility or relationship between those numbers change and shift a little bit, and it's not so much in his favor. So the complexity of the name number, because there's so many numbers creating that name number, that 2 is simplified from not only a 65 but also an 11. Since there's so much complexity, it puts that 2 in a place that is like more other focused and avoidant of attention. Like he's trying to pull back and not really have people peep him like that. So this makes sense coming, Nick, you're in the public eye, but it also gives a hidden gems vibe. But I don't think that this project should necessarily be hidden, if you know what I mean. But if we're looking at that 2 energy, we want to combine that with something that's more supportive of that 2 energy. So I would recommend an 8 and a 4, because that would help better regulate that. I would give it specifically a psychic 4 that helps it break away from the opinion of the previous album, because Forest Hill Drive did numbers. It was incredible, and it's still one that is played to this day. So to really have For Your Eyes Only sit in its own category, putting it in a psychic 4 really separates it from what people previously knew about him and have heard from him. And that Destiny 8 would give it that long-term success, and also allow it to be in a position where, or allow him to be in a position where he's it's highlighting how much work he's been putting in, and also help with the financial side of things as well, but highlight how much work he's putting in and how much it's paying off as well. But if we're embracing the Psychic 9 and the Destiny 3, I would combine it with the name number 7. This would give it a very distinct energy, pushing the perception into more of a spiritual and mental health or introspective type vibe, which the project already has. And 7 would just bring that out more to the forefront and make it clear for people to enjoy the project, and still allowing them to still have to listen to get there. But also the compatibility of 9, 3, and 7 is just beautiful. So I would have gone for that, but it's not a bad release. It's just that name number 2 distinctly different from that Psychic and Destiny energy. If I would just say pick either side. So it's like whether you want to go with that 9 and 3 energy, or if you want to fall more into that 2 energy. It's like you got to figure out what the vibe of this project is for the artist, basically. But if I were to rate this, I would give this a 7 out of 10. It wasn't a bad release, but it definitely wasn't the best release either. Moving on to KOD. This is the 5th album. This came out on 4/20, 2018, which is a Friday, giving it a Psychic 2 simplified from a 20, a Destiny 8 simplified from a 17, and a Name 4 simplified from a 13. Now, the combination of these numbers themselves work well. Do they work the best for him? Because I know I did just say in the previous project, doing a 2, 4, 8 would be good. But also you want to pay attention to where you're putting these numbers, because they mean different things. They highlight different things. So the combination of these numbers definitely give me a community and or family themes, trauma, hardships, mental health, and themes of like overindulgence, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but we want to put it in a position where this album has the best success. And I also don't like the fact that it's released on a Friday, just because that Venus energy, that Venusian energy is not natal to his numbers. It's not natural to his numbers. So it kind of throws me a little bit. So, I don't know. But anyways, this project, if we're keeping the name number 4, because that's the easiest to leave, because I'm not making a whole new name, but if we're keeping that name number 4, that name number 4 gives it a rebellious and disruptive nature, and that can be disruptive whether to the industry or the perception of Cole himself, but it's here to shake things up, and there's nothing wrong with that, because as somebody who is so great at their craft, you want to make sure each project has a distinct energy that people can't sit over here and be like, oh yeah, this is so much better than the last one. It's like, is that really what the artistry is about, or if is it just about the art? So if it's just about the art, we got to put in a position where the numbers are just about the art, and people can't really sit over here and be like, oh yeah, let's compare and contrast. It's like, no, just enjoy the music, god damn it. But I would give this a Destiny 1 and a Psychic 7. That Destiny 1 would allow it to stand out alone from previous projects, like I was saying, because it's not like his other projects. The flow, the musicality, the vibe, the message, like it's not really the same thing as his other projects. So I don't think that it should be giving numerology that puts it in a similar box as the other projects. And then giving it that Psychic 7 allows it to still be introspective and embody an awareness around mental health, drug use, indulgence, and escapism, and more what he talks about on this album without trying to make it something different from him natally in regards to his numbers. So it's not a bad release. I just think that like I said, the compatibility of those three numbers, 2, 4, and 8, are good, but just not in the places that they are, and not good for him in this way, especially considering it's his 5th album. It's just not what I would have necessarily done. But I would give this release a 5 out of 10. A 5 out of 10. It's not too bad, but it's not too good either. But moving on to the most recent album, The Off Season. This is his 6th album. This was released May 14th, 2021, which was a Friday, giving it a Psychic 5 simplified from a 14, a Destiny 6 simplified from a 15, and a Name Number 6 simplified from a 60. So the numbers definitely highlight a story with that 5 energy. 5 is ruled by Mercury, 6 is ruled by Venus. It definitely highlights a story being told within his mind, exploring themes around love and relationships, manipulation, drugs / obsessions / addictions, mental health, whether it's getting better or worse, just all of those things. And that's fine. Again, that is fine. He's been in the game for a brick. Like it's now been a decade. Yeah, decades since his first project came out. Like he been here for a minute. So talking about all of that, it's like it's not a bad concept. It's just not the most beneficial numbers for that concept. I would have, because also the relationship between Mercury and Venus, it doesn't really do anything in regards to project releases, and it could also impact his mental health negatively just because the indulgent energy of that 6. So it wouldn't have been my first choice, but with keeping that Name Number 6, I would have gone for a Psychic 3 and a Destiny 9 if possible. Because this would have supported the project a lot better, allowing the swag and the storyline to still be there without making it overwhelming on the creative side or overwhelming on the listener side. It would just be a lot easier to experience, because that Psychic 3 would have been a better support, because it's a album that's a little bit more mainstream in regards to, or also not as popularized in regards to the style that he was going for. So, and that's 3's domain. And if we could even get an exalted 3 is a 12. So that would have also been really good for him with that combination of that 1 and 2 creating that 3. And that Destiny 9 would have given it a long-standing power and highlight his passion for his craft and reflect his natal numbers, which all in all would have gone together really well for his 6th album. So it's not a bad release. Again, I'm not somebody who will ever tell a Psychic 1, which are people who are born on the 1st, 10th, 19th, or 28th, if you are releasing a project, please, for the love of God, if you do not have any other 6s in your numerology, don't release on a Friday. It does nothing for you. It does nothing for you. I have some animosity towards releasing on Fridays as a 1, obviously. But it's not my first choice, needless to say. But I would give this a rating and release. I like the style or the message he was going for with the numbers. But it's not supportive of the release itself. Like, the content itself is good, but the release itself was not the best numerologically speaking. So I would give that one, I'd probably give that a 4 out of 10. Damn. My bad, bro. I don't mean to be rude. I'm just letting you know what's up. But my final takeaways would be that I hope he releases this year, because it's a Universal 7 year, which puts him in a personal 9 year, which is the same as Forest Hill Drive. that was his best numerology right there. So I would give this project a psychic 9 or 1 to highlight the overall growth and rebirth of his career, and depending on the style of the album, because it's like he's been in the game for a minute. It's really up to him of whether or not he wants to stay in it or not. I would also give it a Destiny 3 or 1 for that popularity. To really separate from the rest of the projects he's done before, I would lean more towards a Destiny 1, just so it's really standing alone in its own new energy of that 7th album. Honestly, a Destiny 7 might be okay too, considering it's his 7th album. It would be in a personal 9 year as well, in a universal 7 year. So a 7 in there wouldn't be too bad either. A name number 1 or 9 would be also good. Because it would shake things up intentionally of really being like, hey, yo, what's up? We here. And the 9 for that power and dynamicism. But in regards to personal months or personal days, I would go for a 1, 3, 7, or 9. Maybe a 5 depending on the overall composition. But just to keep the energy regulated properly, I would still stick to those 4 numbers that I recommended at the beginning. But shit, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed this, because I most definitely did. So share your thoughts on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok, and tag me at Your Soul Lab, and share it with a J.Cole fan, or just somebody who likes numbers, because that's what we do here. We talk about numbers. So this episode of the Dissection is inspired by my service, my personal numerologist service, which is a combination of multiple services. And this is a combination of best days for big events, a personal numerology breakdown, and you and your career. But this is all entry level, because we could go a lot deeper, but we were trying to do this in 30 minutes or less. It's a little bit more than 30 minutes, but you get my drift. But if you or somebody else is looking to set up their career for success, whether as a musician, a business owner, content creator, or you're trying to just get a promotion or a new job, check out my You and Your Career service. If you're interested in building your personal day-to-day life to align with your goals and understanding of how numbers impact you, check out my personal numerology breakdown. And if you have a launch or a wedding or a party or something coming up that holds any level of importance to you, check out my best days for big events. And then if you just want me to work with you one-on-one, personally, on the regular degular, check out my personal numerologist service. But all of those are available on my website, yoursoulaboratory.com, and you can book your free consultation right now, because books are open. But thank you so much for listening. Turn on your post notifications so you don't miss the next episode, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.